Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tutorium in Intensive English at the University of Illinois at Chicago. I'm Jordan, your grammar teacher. For today's lesson, we will be talking about using the subjunctive with commands and recommendations. For today's lesson, we will look at examples of subjunctive recommendations and commands, learn the grammar rules for using this concept, and we will practice. So let's look at some examples of subjunctive recommendations. Before I moved to Chicago, my sister recommended that I live near the Blue Line. During the COVID-19 pandemic, governments urged that people not go outside. It is important that Katie take some time off this summer. So, as you can see, we are suggesting different things to people. Now, there are other ways to recommend things to people, right? When we use the subjunctive to make recommendations, sometimes it sounds a little more formal, so your tone is changing. Maybe this would be something that you use in the workplace or in an academic setting, just something a little more professional. Or maybe you would use it in your writing. Now, some key phrases that can signal or tell us that we should use the subjunctive when recommending things are a verb like to advise that, to propose that, to recommend that, to suggest that, to urge that. And then some phrases could be, it is best that, it is desirable that, it is important that, and it is recommended that. So after those types of phrases, when you want to give those recommendations, you can use the subjunctive. Now, the subjunctive can also be used to give commands, or this is a little bit stronger than a recommendation. This is, you will do it. So it's not just that it's a good idea, but this is more of a requirement. So let's look at some example sentences. I ask that you practice speaking with others. Her parents insist that she not stay out late. It is vital that we arrive early. Now, some other phrases that we might use with commands are, of course, to ask that, to desire that, to request that, to command that, to demand that, to insist that. And some phrases. It is crucial that, it is essential that, it is imperative that, it is urgent that, and it is vital that. Now let's look closer at the grammar and what the grammar rules are. So our first rule for affirmative sentences is we have our key phrase, and then following our key phrase, we have an infinitive verb. That means a verb that has not changed. So for example, I ask that, that's the phrase, you practice. Now you can't see it much with that verb practice, because you and practice go together. But look at the second sentence. It is important that, that's our phrase, Katie take some time off this summer. So we do not say it is important that Katie takes some time off. We remove the S. We use that infinitive. That's that subjunctive. Similarly, we can make our sentences negative. And the way that we do that is by phrase, our key phrase, plus not, plus the infinitive. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, governments urged that, that's our phrase, people not go outside. So we do not say urge that people don't go. In the subjunctive, we say urge that people not go. Similarly, in our second sentence, her parents insist that she not stay out late. So again, think of that verb that follows that as an infinitive. A base form, hasn't changed at all. Let's do some practice with this. So I went on Time Out Chicago. So that's a website. I believe they also have a magazine. But this is where you can find some recommendations for what to do when you're in Chicago. So I chose 5 of those. Let's look at some recommendations that I have if you visit or come study in Chicago. First, take the train to and from airports. Now that's just a regular command, right? But I can make it a little more formal by saying, I recommend that you take the train to and from airports. The airports are connected directly to the train lines. It is so much easier and probably faster than taking an Uber or a cab or something like that. So highly recommend that you take the train either from O'Hare or Midway. Next, get a 3 or 7 day CTA pass. That's Chicago Transit Authority, CTA. That's our train and bus system here. If you are visiting for the week or for a couple of days, you can get a special pass for that. And it's actually cheaper to travel around on our trains and buses if you do that. If you stay for a month, you can also get a month pass. It's so much cheaper than Ubering or anything like that. So I recommend, or it is best that you get a 3 or 7 day CTA pass if you are coming to visit Chicago. You can also get a 1 day pass. That's a possibility too. Download the transit app or a transit app. The transit app that I have is called CTA Bus Tracker. There are a few different ones out there, but download a transit app if you come to visit. I advise that you download a transit app because this will tell you when your bus or your train is coming. We don't have like usually a set schedule for buses and trains. They generally follow a schedule, but as you may or may not know, our transportation here is not always the most reliable, like in Japan or in certain parts of Europe. And so it's nice to have one of these apps where they can tell you when exactly your bus or your train is coming, since we don't necessarily have a schedule. Okay, give yourself enough travel time. Depending on where you are in the city, we say it usually takes 45 minutes to an hour to travel to some different parts of the city. So it is crucial that you give yourself enough travel time. If you are visiting Wrigley Field where the Cubs play, but then you have a show downtown, you'll want to give yourself at least an hour, especially in rush hour, to make sure that you can get downtown to your show on time. So make sure to use Google Maps and check for how long it takes to get places. Next, tip 20% in restaurants. I know this is a hard one. Our culture here is a tipping culture. So it is imperative that you tip 20% in restaurants. People say between 15 to 20%, but I think that 20% is more the recommended amount these days. Understand that servers do not get paid a full or a regular minimum wage. They actually get paid less than minimum wage, and much of their money, actually all of their money, most of their money comes from tips. So servers need tips. This is imperative. That means you have to do it. If you don't, you're ruining someone's day. Yeah, just to be honest, that's how it is here. So those are my recommendations and commands for if you visit Chicago. If you'd like to know more about Chicago, please send us a message, and we at the Tutorium can help you to feel comfortable with traveling here. It is a great city. I hope that you can make a list of recommendations or commands using subjunctive, talking about your country. That would be so interesting. I want to know what what's important that I do if I visit your city. What are some rules that I should follow? Anyway, that's all for this video. I will see you in the next one.